Welcome back to a new mic'd up video. I've made one of these a little bit. I don't think since the school year started, because obviously it's more difficult to find a lot of time to record one of these. Not that it's an oxymoronic type of thing to make these kind of videos, so they're very easy to edit, but they take more time during my training to make since I'm stopping to talk. But I'm starting with some muscle snatches. I'm gonna do muscle snatch plus overhead squat, then some sort of snatch, some sort of clean jerk. I haven't thought about that far. Kind of just depends on how I feel, because yesterday I did a heavy front squat, some jerks, and then the day before that I went heavy in the snatch clean jerk, and the day before that I did some heavy back squats. So I might be a little fatigued. Mobility-wise, my mobility, I should say, is always there. Warming up at the bar, nothing was like super painful, so I should be all right to push muscle snatches a little bit, and then maybe like no hook or no feet, something like that. But we'll move that far. So the first part, this mic'd up, we'll talk about some of the things I'm working on, then potentially riff on some other random stuff as I move on. But I'm going to do a 1+1, so a muscle snatch plus overhead squat. One thing I've been focusing on the pool is, one, keeping my arms straight and not trying to initiate the pull with my arms, but trying to focus on initiating, I guess, more so with my shoulders and upper body, not necessarily like using them, but having those start the pull and then have my arms kind of lag behind. It's not really the best way to describe it, but I've noticed that I start with my arms a little bit off the ground, and that's not really obviously optimal. Because if I obviously do a deadlift or something, I'm not going to be pulling like that, but just for weightlifting, it's not optimal to do. So trying to just have a smooth pull where I initiate with my motion of my back, and then just an overhead squat for my shoulders. A little crackly, but nothing that will limit me from going up. I'm also thinking about more so just when I'm doing overhead squats, but as I'm in that position, not just pushing straight up, but almost pushing back. And I feel like it's locking in my like lats and stuff a little bit more, because I'm naturally pitched forward a little bit just from the way I'm built. If I'm pushing straight up, I'm almost pushing forward. So I'm pushing back, and that will theoretically keep me more balanced to where the bar just kind of has to be, since, like I said, I'm always a little bit forward. But that's going to be my focus on the muscle snatches. I'm going to talk a little bit less for the other sets as I build up, and then I'll talk about some of the focuses with the regular snatch, although it's kind of similar when I talked about the muscle snatch. It's one of the reasons why it's a good movement, because you can kind of practice the movement in a non-pressure sequence and then work on it with a regular movement. But let's get some weight added on. We'll go up to 61 and keep moving forward. Speaking of training more generally, my sleep's been pretty good. You can always get a little bit more. Usually, like Sundays, I'm watching football. Monday, unfortunately, I watch the Cleveland Browns suck. But I stayed up a little bit later with those. But generally, my sleep's been pretty good, and I've been able to kind of catch up, at least accumulate during the week a good amount. And I'm not really tired throughout the day, which is another easy metric. But besides that, as far as body weight goes, it's been pretty consistent between like 107 kilograms and 108, so like 236 to 238 in pounds. So the weight's been really consistent, which is why I think my training's starting to move in the right direction. And things are just moving well, and I just want to continue that momentum and keep the movements as similar each week as possible. So like doing no hook and no feet, and doing front squats and back, all the basic stuff. So not trying to overcomplicate, doing block snatches and potentially block cleans. The more I think about that, the less I want to do block cleans, because I feel like they might be more of a detriment than a beneficial thing, because they're so difficult. And I don't really have too much of an issue with maximal cleans. It's the jerk that sucks. But that's a thought for a different day, since I'm not going to have the blocks out. So it's just 61, same thing, 1+1. Should be pretty easy. No hook and no contact, just like the last one, just like I always do with muscle snatches. The overhead squat is never fun, but I find it's like just a good general warm up, and it's one that is an indicator. If I can do the muscle snatches and throw in the overhead squats with them, then I usually feel fine enough to do a lot of other normal training. If I'm apprehensive about doing it because I'm like, oh, everything kind of sore and is painful, it's usually a good indicator that I probably don't need to do as much that day, or to kind of modify things to make them easier, or to find different things to work around them. And that's really, when you're programming for yourself, it's really what you got to do, because you don't have a coach there to talk to. You kind of have to be able to feel that out yourself. And I've been training on my own for years at this point, mostly by myself. And you just kind of build that tolerance, or you build that mindset of just trying to make it work. And I always come in the mindset that I'm going to train every day. And then if there's a day I don't train, then, that's a day where I was planning on training, but something happened where I didn't. So it's kind of starting with that mindset of like, I'm going to train, and then figuring out what I can do that day to try to get better or to work on something. So with the muscle snatches, working the pull, working the overhead squat, warm up for the movement, look like Lasha. These are all important things when you're lifting. Unfortunately, I'm about 70 kilograms off from being true Lasha form, and about a year, probably a decade worth of stancinol, which won't be helping on anytime soon. But that's enough rambling. I'm going to throw 70 on there, do another 1+1 to maybe 80, maybe 90. We'll see how it works. All right, we got 70 on. I'm starting to feel this kind of flop around. I don't know if it's just this shirt in specific, or I just haven't worn it in so long that I'm not used to having it attached to my shirt. But I'm going to talk at the beginning of each lift like I do normally in these mic videos, and then have this set off to the side like I normally do, just clean and jerks. Usually snatches I'd leave it on, but I need to get some chalk on my hands. Otherwise, I'm going to mess up this lift. I love chalk. Actually, I'm off to the side. I can't really see where I am in relation to my camera now. I'm pretty blind from this distance, but I minorly cut my thumb on the knuckle of it, putting a dish in the dishwasher on like the second shelf. Thankfully, it's nothing that's gonna, like, I can still hook grip if I wanted to and stuff. It's pretty much closed up now, but it's just such a random thing. And because it's on like the hinge of the joint, it bled for a while, because those spots don't really close up too quickly. But thankfully, it's not as bad as the cut I had earlier in the summer. All right, so just 70. I'm pleasantly surprised with how that felt. I mean, 70 should always kind of feel good. I'm a little 80 on here while I'm talking, but I'm going to go up to 80 for a 1+1. The overhead squats are feeling really nice, which is good. I feel a little unbalanced with my left side, like it's twisting or dipping a little bit, but it's nothing that's painful or a detriment. It's more of just something to think about to make sure that I stay balanced. But 80 should be good. I did 90 the other week, so it's possible. It's more so the muscle snatch will be the limiter. I, of course, can overhead squat more with that 120 snatch plus overhead squat that I did. I think it's just significantly easier to do an overhead squat after doing a full snatch versus doing it out of the rack as a whole. And that's what my PR is. 135 is my best overhead squat, and I did it after block snatching it. So clearly there must be something to that for whatever reason. But I'm just going to go ahead and do 80 now. No point in waiting. It's just 80. Thankfully, 80 is a pretty routine muscle snatch for me. I think 90 is a little bit iffy, but we're going to go up to it. So 90 will definitely be my top set. And my focus more so on muscle snatches is not really getting up to the top weight. It's kind of similar with overhead press. Is be able to do the same weights and to hopefully do them easier, but to just kind of use them as just getting some work in. I'm not really worried about if I do like a crazy muscle snatch with like 100, because the form would be really bad and not really similar to the pull of a snatch. I realize getting to 90 will be kind of like a press, but at that point, it's not too big of a deal as long as I don't keep trying to go up from there. And it's still a good warm up. But all this talking in between sets makes me sound like I'm a lot fatter than I am. So I always sound a lot, at least to myself, I always sound a lot more out of breath. But like I'll do a lift and then talk and not really breathe. And not really good about that. But we're going to throw a 90 on there. Do that as my last set and then move on to some snatch work of some kind. Oh, my knee came off. My knee sleeve, I should say. My knee's still there for now. I'm still tentatively planning on doing the November competition. My roommates just bought a house. So my two roommates are fiancés. Fiancés? I guess they're engaged. That would be the proper term, the proper normal way of saying it. They're fiancés with each other, aka they're engaged, but they just closed on a house. So they're going to be moving out relatively soon. So I'm not worried about like, we got to do a competition, got to get there. Doesn't really matter. It's just a local meet. So if that one doesn't work, I'll potentially look to do one maybe in the December time. But I think that they'll be all moved in by that point, and I should be able to do that one. If not, I'll just do like a heavy session in the gym or something just for fun. But that would be the plan. I think it's like the 4th. It's whatever that first week of November on like a Saturday. But that's what I'm kind of working towards. So whether that happens to be at the competition or at the gym or in the shed, probably at that point of the year, it would be at the actual gym that I go to now very infrequently. But that's what I'm kind of working towards. That's what I'm trying to build towards. And if it so happens that I'm a couple weeks out and I really don't feel like there's any chance of hitting PRs and stuff, then I probably won't end up doing it. Although I don't know how long before the competition I have to sign up for. Probably a month out, I would guess. But by then I should have a pretty good idea if I'm going to be in shape, or at least have the potential to be in shape to try some good numbers, which I think I'm building to that point. I just have to keep getting my legs stronger, keep getting my upper body stronger, keep practicing the lifts, all that good stuff, and I'll be right there. Certainly seems like the trajectory is going in the right way. But let's do 90. So we're going to try to do muscle snatch and overhead squat. If you're ever curious about my loading, there's 135, then there's 3 10s on the outside, so it makes 55, 75, 85, plus the 5, 95, and then the 2 and 1 pound plate, because it's all pounds besides the illegal bar. Most oxymoronic thing. I got Titan plates and $1,000 bar. Let's see if this goes up. Oh, that's to be expected. Like I kind of mentioned before, like I'm not focused about, if I can get and push the muscle snatch up. That's why I don't like go to 85. So I missed 90. It's whatever. I did it with 80. I did it with 70. So, I built on the sets going up. The 90 was just for fun. But I'm going to wave back down to the greens. And I don't know, I have to sit down and figure out what I want to do. But when I pop the video back on, I'll have a decision about what kind of snatches I'm going to do. I think I'm leaning towards no hook snatches, but we'll see. So I've decided upon doing some no hook snatches. I don't know how heavy I'll go with them. The last time I got up to 107, and that was pretty sure a lifetime PR for just like the no hook snatch. Because with the weightlifting AI, I did a lot of no hook and no feet together. But with my own stuff, I like to separate them out so I can have two separate movements that I'm focusing on, and not just have them together, because then it's less of, is it helping me because of the no foot or the no hook? It's kind of like, yeah, it's both, and it's not necessarily a bad movement, but if it's separate, then I can see what's breaking down in the movement when I'm doing just a no hook or just a no feet, and work on both of those concepts if they happen to be present. But besides all that fun lifting stuff, I love Instagram. And by love, I mean I don't like it at all. I've considered deleting it many times. The only reason I don't is because I have family on it, and I like to post stuff so they don't think I'm dead. And that's not really, as far as, I should say dead, that's a little bit too morbid, but like I'm still lifting, I'm still healthy, I'm still like, doing normal stuff. Because I had one day where I wasn't even injured or anything. I just hadn't posted anything on YouTube or Instagram for like 2 weeks. And my aunt actually like texted me. It's like, I saw like you were injured a little while ago, and she was checking on me, and it's like, well, I guess I do have to be consistent, because my aunt might think I'm injured or dead or something. Drop the weight on my head. But when you're scrolling through Instagram, there's, as anyone that goes on that platform knows, there's so much cringe that it just hurts my head with just people who lift weights. Like I enjoy watching people that I either know or acquaintances with online, and just seeing them lift weights and make progress. But because of that, you get recommended other people who have a lot of unique qualities that they like to propose as being important, when really you're just lifting weights and you're not that important in the scheme of things. I'm not that important in the schemes of things. You're not that important in the grand schemes of things. We're all just working on a craft of lifting weights, and we enjoy it. And it's fun to see other people lift weights as well. At least that's why I like posting stuff, and I like looking at other people lifting stuff, whether it's at a high level or at a low level or a medium level or whatever level. Like seeing that. I'm weird like that. And I think a lot of people who watch weightlifting stuff or watch videos like mine, or I even squat every day. It's like you just like interacting with that kind of stuff. And when people start, Bobo's mad at something, but when people start talking about things that aren't about lifting and using that as like, well, I have this sort of mental condition and I got to talk about that in relation to my lifting, or I have some sort of like unimportant thing that relates to my lifting somehow, and that being like, I'm not just a lifter, I'm the blank 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 lifter. And then those kind of people I just find so cringe. Like I've mentioned, and I do talk about that I am a teacher, but there is a lot more to my existence than being a teacher. And I feel like with a lot of people, they have that thing about them, whether it's a job that they have or some sort of condition that they may be afflicted with, and that becomes like their essence, because they view like their online presence as being something where if they don't have some sort of unique quality that differentiates them from other people, then they're not going to be able to grow or do whatever. Like for me, I like that my channel has grown. Like it's kind of exciting to see that I went from like 300 subscribers, and when shorts were enabled, or when they were, but a thing on the platform for YouTube, and to see like me get up to nearly 2,000. Like I like that, but I have a day job. I work. I don't need the money from YouTube. I don't make any money from YouTube, even though I have over that 1,000 threshold. You still need the watch time, but like I just do it because it's fun. If you look at my oldest video, I have been posting lifting stuff since that time, but also even before that, there's been stuff that I've posted just on Instagram, or I think I had like one of my first deadlifting videos that was on Twitter, like way back in the day, when I tried to use that for actually probably like one whole day. And then I was like, I don't even like Twitter then. I still don't now, but like I've been posting stuff forever, and before it was lifting, it was baseball stuff. So it's like, for me, I like having that as an online record for myself, selfishly, narcissistically, to be able to look back and see how much I've grown, but also to see like how things have changed over the years. And then what I've learned over the time is talking about my training. People enjoy that as well. I enjoy talking about my training, so it's a mutually beneficial thing. But if it didn't happen, like if my channel got deleted tomorrow, I'd probably still record all my lifting, and find somewhere to post it. It's not so much about having the biggest and largest audience. It's about having a goal and having things that you want to do and be able to work towards those. Having the camera and recording and all my lifts and stuff like that was a function of me wanting to get better at lifting, and it just so happened that YouTube, worked out to where I could post the lifts to there. I could talk about my training. I could do all these different things. But I used to post all my pitching videos unlisted on YouTube on a different channel to a baseball pitching forum. So it wasn't anything I ever had public on YouTube. And then I realized I could just put it public on YouTube. There's no problem with that. And then once I stopped baseball and then started lifting, it's something that's just built over the years. But I think a lot of people just use it as like, I'm gonna record this because I'm gonna try to make it with this stupid edit over it. It's just lifting weights at the end of the day. And no weight that I'm gonna lift needs some sort of cool edit on it, because what am I gonna do? A 130 snatch? Lasha's doing that for doubles in the muscle snatch. He could do a cool edit on his videos, but he doesn't need to because weight's impressive. So it's a weird state, because you see a lot of people try to make 80 kilo snatches look cool as a female, or for a dude to make like 100 kilo or some sort of undetermined number as a CrossFitter look cool. I see so much CrossFit stuff, and it drives me absolutely bonkers, because I think CrossFit's fine, training CrossFit's fine, but like the media around it, like, why do I need to see a 500 frames per second muscle up on someone? I don't get that. I don't get it at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, for some things it's cool, but like, look at this CrossFitter doing a burpee and it's like they're in super slow motion. I don't understand it. If I don't want to watch drugged up athletes train, like, I just watch weightlifting. That's why I like high level weightlifting. I get to watch people take steroids and see what the human body can do. But I'm going to do this lift, and there's more I want to talk about that, because I don't want to get on another tangent there. I've been standing around long enough. So, like I said, I'm going to do some no hook snatches. Probably just singles, like I said. We'll see how they feel. I don't really like no hook snatches, which is why I should probably do them. But they limit me a ton on the top weights I can do. Like I said, 107 is the best I've ever done, so it's pretty below what my best regular snatch is. And a lot of that's due to hand size and grip strength and stuff like that, but just a tiny bit's technique. I mean, I basically have perfect technique. Just me coping saying it's grip and hand size when really it's mostly technique. I think for no hooks I would like to do 110, but probably not today. I know it's only 43 kilos, but mobility of it feels nice. Like, nothing kind of hurts, so that's always nice. So we're going up to 60 there, but before I do the 60, I'll load it on there and then talk about drugs and why I like watching weightlifting. But let me get this loaded on here. Speaking of steroids and the funness related to them, I enjoy that I don't have to worry about trying to take it to see what's possible to the human body. I can look at people that compete at like the World Championship that just happened or the Olympics and see what's possible with the addition of drugs. Because anyone that lives under a delusion that the people that are at the World Championships winning, that people that are at the Olympics at the highest level just aren't juiced to the gills, are just living in delusion. When you see the best American lifters losing by 20 kilograms to people that are in the same weight class, and when you can almost guess that not every American's probably clean that's showing up to the championships, like Ian Wilson is the perfect example. He didn't even win, and he went on everything under the sun. But that's why I like watching the World Championships, like I said, is to see what's possible and to be able to extrapolate down. Like, oh, look at this person. They've been lifting since they're 12, so they probably were starting to be given drugs when they were like 14, and they've been lifting hard for 10 years if they happen to be 24 at that point. So like when you extrapolate back and think about like your dispositions as a kid, you're like, yeah, if I was probably in that system, like I probably had enough grit and enough compliance to do everything that would be required in like a Russian or Armenian system and like lift pretty well. It's hard to really say like I would lift this number or I'd be able to lift that. But when you see someone snatch like 190 kilos, it looks impossible to even conceive that. But when you think about all of the steps that they went backwards on that, and the steps that you went as like a normal person, you realize, well, they lived a much different life than I did, and they started taking a lot of drugs at a very young age and had to work very hard for, a number of years, but like the pathways and the drugs and all of that led them up to that 190. It wasn't like they showed up and were really talented and really athletic. Like, no, they were able to get into a training system, be given a lot of drugs and a lot of good coaching, and develop good enough technique to be able to do whatever. Because guys, even at the very top of weightlifting, have technical faults or do weird things with lifting, and they get away with it because of the exorbitant amount of drugs that they're on. And I think the saddest part of the state of weightlifting now is the way they're doing the qualification. Is like you see the world championship, and so many people either didn't lift well or just didn't even bother lifting because they didn't have to. And so, like, we were promised all these great battles. Like, the 89 is supposed to be this great class. Instead, we get to see Tian Tao bomb out with, like, a 214 snatch. Like, I remember this old comedian who was talking about, like, giving everyone steroids and, like, I want to see someone throw 9,000 miles an hour, joking about that. But, like, I think that's the mentality of a lot of people, or at least it is for me. It's like, I don't want to watch the world championship and think, wow, this guy drug tested and he's doing, a 180 clean and jerk at 109 kilogram body weight. What a great thing to see. Oh, I want to see Lashas in every single weight class for males and females. I want them to be the ones that put their body on the line, so I don't have to worry about it. So I can say that's what's possible in that weight class. All right, let me go train, because that's not going to bother me in my training, because I'm living in a different world. I have a day job. I'm 30 years old now, so it's like I'm in a different world than what they live in. I want to see what it's like watching the World's Strongest Man. If they didn't take steroids, that wouldn't be fun to watch. Nobody would want to watch it. Just like in weightlifting, if everyone had to pass all the drug tests that, say, like Americans had to do, the results would drop tremendously, and all these countries would just stop doing weightlifting. So then I'd be watching a 190 clean and jerk and being like, well, that's probably possible. Like, that's not too far off from what I can do. That's not really that interesting to me. I want to see the freaks. I want to see the Naeems, and, like, I want to see all of that. And they're still there. That's what's the best part, too, is, like, they want to say, like, oh, it's less corrupt and this and that. It's like, it's not like Lasha showed up with a 220 snatch just completely natural out of his mind. Like, there's still stuff that's happening to allow those people to be able to lift those insane weights. I personally would find it more interesting if it was just 100% transparent. You'd be able to have the guys talk about the cycles that they do, how they get around, or not even how they get around the test, because if they didn't have to get around the test, they could talk about it, but talk about how their training goes. They'd be able to show all their training lifts. They'd be able to cycle on their drugs. They'd be able to talk about, more like a bodybuilder. Like, there's a time where bodybuilders try to pretend like they're natural, but a lot of them now can talk about what cycles they do and stuff like that. To me, that would be interesting to see as, what top weightlifters do. And just to see that, like, I'm not going to hop on stuff, but it would be cool to know. Like, that's interesting information, just like with bodybuilding. Like, I'll listen to a guy talk about, their bodybuilders talk about their cycle for an hour, but I'm not going to hop on a bodybuilder cycle. So it's like, I want to see that. I want to see the freaks. I want to see the circus show. I don't want to see normies lifting. If I want to see a normal person lift, I'll just look at my own videos. I see enough of myself lifting. I want to see some freaks. I want to see a balloon animal do a 290 kilo snatch. Is that too much to ask? I don't think so. Well, we're getting text. But I want to do the 60 kilo snatch, which could be 160 kilos if I started taking stats and all when I was 14. Now, before I get to this lift, when I think about, like, my first year of lifting, so I was like 15 and a half when I quit basketball and started lifting, I gained about 20 pounds, 15 to 20 pounds in one winter of training. So in like 2 or 3 months. And I just trained normally, like normal linear progression with everything. And that was without any steroids or AIDS or anything. I was just a 15 and a half year old kid who just lifted weights and put on whatever size you do as, a normal teenager. And some of that probably is just good genetics. I would say that going from 135 when I got my permit when I was 15 and a half to being 170, 175 when I finished high school, and then being able to get up to 200 and being able to get up to 230 is pretty good genetics for muscle gain. And I would have to extrapolate that, if I was 14, I had a weightlifting coach teaching me weightlifting, and I'm injected in a whole bunch of steroids, I could have had a whole bunch of health issues. I probably would have. That's, I would say, child abuse to do. Countries are going to do it anyway, so I just want to see the result of it. But if I went through that system at that point, like, I already kind of build muscle naturally pretty well. I'm a very compliant individual when it came to when I was that age. Like, coach gave me the strength coach gave me a program, and I just did the program. I didn't realize how radical of a thing that was at that age. Like, strength coach says, here's this, you do this upper, lower. And I just did everything on the paper and just added 2.5 pounds for upper body, 5 pounds for lower body each time if you're successful with the weights. And I exploded. I didn't realize that that was such a difficult thing for most teens or most kids, and even through college, for like college age adults to do. It's hard for people just to like stick to a plan or to just train normally. But I would imagine I would extrapolate from that point if I was in the Georgian system and I was 14-year-olds and suddenly, given all that stuff and that training, I would have been a pretty good weightlifter. I think a lot of people would. It'd be hard pressed to find someone that wouldn't be a good weightlifter or athlete in that system with all of that training you're able to do. But enough wasting. Let's smash this 60 kilos. 61 kilos never stood a shot. I'll probably talk a little bit less now as I'm building up, so I'm not taking 20 minutes between sets. So, like, imagine if that was the best snatching that you'd see in the world because nobody's taking steroids. Like, no, I want to see Lasha muscle snatch like 150 or 160 kilos. Like, I want to see freaky stuff that that nobody thought was possible. It's like watching track and sports. Usain Bolt. Everyone wants to see him run and break a world record, but apparently everyone wants to pretend that he's not on steroids. Like, you can't have both. You can't have world records set and natural athletes. It's just not going to happen. And the people that try to say, well, I'll just work harder. Like, there was I think it was Ryan Grimslow was talking about, like, wanting to be successful at the top level in weightlifting. Like, unless you're going to take steroids, that's not going to happen. And it sucks for people that don't want to do that stuff. But, you just got to find other things to focus on, like your own progress. But let's throw 80 on there. Let's talk less, hit bigger weights. One of my favorite things is the delusion that Americans aren't taking drugs as well. I mean, at the World Championships, we didn't send our best super heavyweight that can snatch 190 and do like 220, 230 clean jerk Kaiser width. Why? I don't know. Is he on drugs? Do they not like him? We'll never know. But the two people we sent sure as hell weren't snatching 190 plus. That is for damn sure. And so then we're left with subpar athletes because one of them can do 20 kilograms more somehow, and we're not sending him. Is it because he didn't want to go? Is it because he might have political views that they don't like? Who knows? But it's a pretty objective sport, weightlifting. If you lift the most weight, you win. And in the super heavyweights, it's even more objective. You can lift more weight at whatever body weight. So there's not like a body weight component where you're worried about cutting down or finding a weight class. You're just turning into a monster. But when you see people in any country that go from lifting weights that I'm able to lift at whatever age, and then going to being able to lift 30, 40 kilograms more, and it's like a 1 or 2 or 3 year span, and do that comfortably in any country, like, it's just obvious what's happening. Not that I really particularly care, but if you're going to go that route, I'd rather see the Lasha Talahazis than see someone that bombs out at half their competitions because they have to take less or cycle off or do the Pat Mendez strat. Like, Pat Mendez was the meme for the longest time. He was a lifter before, like, he was really big and like in main list before I really learned about weightlifting. But when you look back at his career, like, he tried to take all the drugs in the world and then show up in competitions and lift like crap because he'd cycle off. And when you kind of realize like how bad people lift when they cycle off as hard as Americans would have to do, typically, you kind of see what happens with some people at competition, and you can extrapolate, what happens with people long term when they have taken stuff and they don't take stuff anymore. That's stuff I'd be interested about, but fortunately, we don't get to know that. We just have to guess and assume things that are probably happening at every country and every sport. And You know, it's not that every single magical person could figure out how to be, you know, it's not that every single person that's stronger or a better lifter than I am is suddenly on steroids. It's to me, one of the biggest indicators is how your body looks. So if there's, you know, the telltale signs of steroid use, but if there's also like rapid progress without gaining body weight, and you're suddenly lifting weights that nobody else in the whole world in that weight class are able to do after a couple of years of training, when you were, you know, a normie lifter like me a couple of years ago for the total weights, even though like at a body weight you might be a good lifter, it's suspicious. And when things are suspicious, I'm at the point in my life where I just assume you're on drugs until you can prove otherwise. And it's the opposite of the burden of proof. But, you know, I'm kind of past the point where people are like, well, he passed a drug test. I'm like, no, if I see someone like Russell Ori, I'm not going to say, well, he passed a drug test, so like I must, you know, must think that he's not on steroids. Like, clearly he just is juiced to the gills. And, you know, it's more so, how does he, you know, why isn't he drug tested, or how does he get around it, or something like that. Like, to me, the question of if you're on, or if you're not, or if you take it, or if you're not, it's not really an interesting one, as you can tell based on the lifting, by the numbers that they hit, by the progress that they make, by the symptoms that they might show in their body. You can kind of know that pretty easily, or at least have a good idea. To me, it's more interesting is what numbers they're able to hit, what drugs they might actually be taking. Is all of that. Like, is Lash on drugs? That's not really interesting to me, because obviously he is. I want to see him snatch 230. And if he's not, then he needs to take more drugs. Like, I sound like the worst kind of person, but like, I want to, if I'm going to the circus, I won't want to see someone juggle three baseballs. I can juggle three baseballs at the same time. I'm going to see someone juggle 4 spears, 2 swords, and a bowling pin that's on fire at the same time while they're on a unicycle. Like, I want to see freaky stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one like that. But let's do this 80 before I ramble on into a new universe. So there's this 80. It actually felt pretty good. I'm getting a million texts still. Oh my gosh. All right, let me add this way. I have a couple texts I have to respond to because I'm an adult. Gotta do grown up things. But 80 felt really good, surprisingly. I felt like I was moving well and I caught it in a good spot. No hooks are kind of one of those things where they feel good until they don't, and then they feel actually horrendous. There's no gradual there's no gradual build up to them feeling bad. They go from easy to impossible in a matter of 5 kilos. But we're gonna go up to 90. We're gonna see how that feels. I'll load it here, and then we'll smash it. 90 should be fine. I think at a minimum, I would like to hit 100. And not just hit it, but absolutely smash it. So see if that's possible. It's on a good trajectory today. I feel surprisingly pretty good. I say surprisingly because I front squatted 175 yesterday, and I didn't get injured from it or anything, but it didn't feel great. Mostly because my body just naturally rejects front squats, so it makes them hurt more than anything else in the world. But we'll do this 90. If you hear a noise that sounds like farting, it's just the plates creaking. Just FYI. Because I don't fart. I've never farted once in my life. I'm definitely going to do that again. I let it get away from me where I just didn't finish well enough and it kind of banged off my hips. Wasn't too far off, but I want to hit a clean rep with that. So I'm going to stop the video, reset, and come back and hit it. I definitely can today. 90 shouldn't be a problem. We'll do 90 and then see how we go from there. So we're going to go ahead and give 90 another shot. It should be all right. I just have to be more confident with it. I think when I do no hooks and as it gets heavier, it starts to kind of pull away from your hand a little bit in your grip. And it doesn't mean that you can't do the lift. It's just not the same as, you know, holding the bar. You can hold it however you want and it feels comfortable. But the bar kind of just goes more in your fingertips. So set the focus in. Trust my speed, even though I don't have any. Did the same thing on that rep where I was just ahead and I just didn't finish with it well. So I'm going to go back down to 80 because I'm doing a mic'd up video. I'll actually do a drop set, but I'm going to do some work at 80. I think that will be good. Even though it will be, I could probably do something in between. I'll do 80 just because I know it's light enough, and then probably just do some overhead presses. Based on how, you know, this is feeling, not that it's feeling necessarily bad, but I don't want to do 90 20 times just to do 90. If this was, you know, PR, then that would be good, but I want to do some clean reps and have a lighter session. I think I've talked about that in some videos, like wanting to have days that are a bit lighter. And even though I'm missing, it's lightweight. It's a complex that's going to be lighter anyway, and so I can just focus on getting some work in. So we'll drop the weight down to 80, do some work there, maybe just a single or two, and then do maybe just some strict pressing. Making life easy today. Unfortunately, a day of training like this is one that you always just have to go through every couple days. If you have a couple of good sessions, and for me, usually good sessions are sessions I go heavier on or do a lot of volume. If that happens, there tends to be a day where just things don't move how you want them to move. And if they did, I suppose that'd be suspicious in one way if I was just always having good sessions and everything was always going up. But there's ebb and flows, and over the years, thankfully, I've gotten better at having days like this and not just trying to smash that same weight 100 times and either moving on to a different exercise, which is typically what I do, or today in a more unique case, doing like a drop set of some sort. I've gotten good work in today. I did some muscle snatches and overhead squats. I've done some work up to 90 with that. So it's not like today's been unproductive, but you always hope to be able to push to heavier weights. And you kind of always have to have that mindset, even on days where you don't feel great, because that's the end goal of lifting weights, is to be able to lift more weights. So you always want to be able to have that bias of I want to push to heavier weights, because you're not going to be able to every day. And the days that you can, you don't want to sit there and be like, man, I should have tried more weight. Like, no, I did as much as I could that day, or I did as many sets as I could that day. You don't want to leave stuff on the table when possible. Obviously, there's limits to that, or being smart and knowing, like, if you go up to a certain weight, say for like a back squat, you're like, all right, I had a little bit more, but I know if I went to that weight, I'd be tired for 3 days. Same with like me and deadlifts. Like I can go up to a 600 pound deadlift and be fine the next day, but I could also go up to 640 pounds and not be fine the next day. So it's a balancing act. You know, you don't always want to go to 100% max, but knowing what's good for the day and what's not. Today, doing 80 for a single here will be good for the day. At least for snatches. And try to keep the bar close. I'm banging it too far away. And you know, that's a good one to end on, because chances are quite high, because it happens probably 1 or 2 times a week, when I have a session like this to where I'm just not able to push up very heavy in the lifts, no matter what I'm doing or how I'm really feeling, whether it's cognitively or physically. On a day, the weights just don't move up. So I know the next day I'll be able to push harder. And so that kind of forms me in my next day of training that tomorrow I'll probably feel pretty good. Because I just did snatches, I'm going to do some overhead press. So I'm not putting a lot of strain on my body. I'm not, doing 10 by 10 squats or, anything crazy like that. Just doing some snatches. And I should be fine for tomorrow. I should be primed for tomorrow. So hopefully tomorrow is a good day. I don't know what I want to do tomorrow. I had to think about that, but maybe some back squats, maybe a whole big session. I always kind of dream about like the perfect session, and it's always way too much work. It's always like, well, I would like to snatch heavy, then maybe do a heavy clean and jerk, and then maybe do a heavy back squat with some drop sets, and then maybe some heavy pulls after. And it's just like, not every day you can do that. Well, not very frequently, but I'm gonna take these tens off, do some overhead pressing. So that will be the end of this workout after I do some pressing. So a little bit more. I'm just going to work out some singles on the overhead press because I got some volume in yesterday. One of the things that, sorry I lose my voice now, talking too much all day long, but one of the things that I'm trying to do with not just squats, I kind of started with squats, but I'm trying to use it with other exercises, is to work up to a heavy single and do drop sets, mostly on strength movements. With that snatch, that's more unique, but on a lot of the back squats, like I go up to whatever single I can do that day and then do drop sets. And I'm trying to do, like yesterday, I did a weird one. I did front squat plus overhead press, but just a 61 kilos and 5+5, and did 3 sets of those. So not a ton of volume as far as like the front squats, but it's something, because then the next time I can add a little bit more, because I haven't, when I've been doing front squats, it's just been working up and not doing drop sets or that many drop sets. So I want to start accumulating that volume where it's comfortable and focus more on the positions than the actual weight on the drop sets, because when I start to get heavy for doubles and triples in the front squat, it tends to be a lot of cat back, a lot of upper back activation, when if I'm doing volume, I just want to work on the legs. I just want to work on the positions and maintaining those. But I'm going to do 61 here. Just a 1+1. Thumb's starting to bleed a little bit. Maybe I will have to put some thumb tape on it or something, because I'm essentially grabbing right where the scab is. Yeah, this is 61, so it's easy. So let's go up to 80. So I have been doing smaller jumps in both muscle snatches and overhead press, where I go from 60 to 70 to 80 to 90. But that's when I've been doing reps. So I'm going to kind of treat today more like a test, and I guess in a sense. But if 80 goes well, then potentially try something above 90. If it doesn't, it's overhead press, so it's not the end of the world. So we'll go ahead and do this for one. I guess I should probably set this in front. It gets better sound. And less chance to pick up the sounds of the plates making fart noises, and not me, because I don't fart. Alright. Try to hook grip without grabbing the knuckle of my thumb. Felt pretty good. So probably go up to 95. See if we can do that from 1. In a perfect world, I do it for 2, but fortunately, I'm pretty weak. I hadn't really thought about this, but once both my roommates move out, I'll be able to potentially do more mic dev videos more frequently. Not that I want to spam my channel with a bunch of them. I think at most I would ever do is like once a week or once every 2 weeks, but I think once in a while is a good upload schedule for these, because these are by far my longest videos. And I don't really do live streams because it's like potentially possible, but I have to connect my phone, and then I can't really look at any comments that are happening while I'm lifting. And then it just becomes a big mess because then the internet out here, I'm depending on my data, which I have unlimited data, but I have to depend on it. So anywho, just thought about that. I'm going to do this 210 in pounds, 95 in kilos. We'll see how it goes. Get some extra chalk on my hands because I'm nervous. I think we got to cheat and put some music on. So true steroids. I haven't done 95 in a while, so I'm quite happy with that. And you saw I tried to do 2. Obviously, the second one wasn't there, but just to have the confidence after the first one to do it, it's pretty good. Sure, it wasn't the clean, so I was bouncing around a little bit, get a little Ilya whipping the bar, but it's overhead press. But my best ever is 100, so that's a pretty high percentage of that. But that could be good for that today. I'm not going to do drop sets of that because, like I mentioned, I did some reps yesterday, and it's kind of just a nice exercise to do if you're having a light day, because it's kind of a clean jerk, but it's light enough to where it's not really going to wear yourself out too much. But that's going to be it for this one. I'm going to end it there, like I said. I don't want to do anything more, and tomorrow I'll be able to lift heavier and be able to push more aggressively in whatever I decide to do, whether it be squats or the regular movements. The more I think about it now, probably be a back squat, because those are good to do, especially because I'm weak. But if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. And what's nice, if you are someone that does make it to this point of the mic'd up videos, and there's ever a topic that you want me to riff on, or you're curious about my thoughts that are maybe more difficult to answer in a comment itself, and maybe like it's easier to pontificate in a longer form, this is the format to do that. So I don't tend to make a lot of, I guess, commentary videos, or like non just like lifting commentary videos about just random topics, and this kind of gives me that format to do that, which is kind of why I enjoy doing them, because it's usually on days where I've already kind of like, I'm probably not going to like hit a PR and something, so I'm just going to get some normal training. But then it allows me to kind of like talk about roids and all that good stuff, or whatever happens to be on my mind for that day. So I like having this as kind of that outlet for that. So then my training commentary videos are more focused on the specifics of training and what's going on that day, or what I'm thinking about, or what I just happen to do on that day. And so I don't know, I enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy making these videos, I wouldn't sit here and talk for, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour, however long this video will end up being. That's for sure. And if I ever stop enjoying making YouTube videos, I don't make any money, so I can just stop at any point. So if you see me still posting, it means I still like YouTube, I still like lifting, or some combination of there. But anywho, that's it for this one. I'll talk to you on the next video, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.